Welcome back inside the Bill Crothers Gymnasium here in Markham. J.J. Evison alongside Sydney Holmes. The third game of the day about to get underway. Low Ellen Prep from Sudbury taking on RIEL from Ottawa. The Rebels here looking for a challenge. Low Ellen Prep played yesterday. Good game. Got it going in the second half. We'll see how this one starts. And throughout the broadcast today, we will be joined by OSBA players. And when they come on, we'll let you know who we're talking to, get them in for a quick conversation, and get some insight into their preparation for the season, some goals, both for the individual and the team, as Low Ellen Prep get the first look at the offensive side of the ball. Way to stick with it. Shot up and good for Sarah Guignard. Near side, back to the top. Just out of the reach and turned over. Guignard has it, waiting for a teammate, Sydney Scrobot, taking over the point guard duties here this season. Keeps the ball low, finds a lane, moving downhill, left hand, no. Second chance opportunity, that falls out of bounds. Last touch by Low Ellen Prep. The Rebels out on the run. Bounce pass near side. Inez Isusi into the corner. Layla Christopher works baseline. Doesn't get the shot to go, but foul on Guignard. And Layla Christopher to the free throw line.
We didn't really get to see a lot of examples from it yesterday. But Sydney Scrobot, when we had a conversation with her, she said that on top of obviously her post moves, that she's been naturally kind of falling into that role, given her height and given her experience, is actually falling in more into a ball handler position this year, looking to run the plays through her. We didn't see a lot of examples of that yesterday, but the first play down the floor, we did see at least a solid attempt at doing that. So I'm interested to see if that's going to continue as this game progresses here.
Inez Isusi to the far side. Dribble picked up, blocked at the top there by Guignard. It's Violet Humble out on the run, going all the way downhill, and she'll go to the free throw line for two.
Smart decision there, splitting the defense. Whenever you see that pocket, it's honestly, they're either going to foul you or they're going to get a block, but 9 times out of 10, and we've been kind of echoing this today, whenever you see the defender's hands drop, the referees are going to be more inclined to give the foul to the offensive player, so great way for her to find the pocket.
Humble's first season here with Low Ellen Prep, wearing number 30. Pure shot. Brielle Coitier finds the cutter. Shooter, far side, wide open. That doesn't fall for Cameron De La Salle. Second chance opportunity, up and good. Layla Christopher with the make. Christopher last year just 3.7 points per game in 12 games played. Here's Humble. Turnover. The Rebels out on the run. Good heads-up pass, and Coitier finishes the play. Coitier, a newcomer to the Rebel squad. Scrobot picks up the dribble, now bailed out by Guignard. Moving downhill, left-handed finish. Yes, and one opportunity foul's going to go on Layla Christopher.
I don't know if it was more of an adjustment on Low Ellen's part, but we see this game from Guignard that we didn't see from her last game. She was naturally positioned lower on the block, looking for more of those post moves, but now this is the second time we've seen her actually a bit higher, more along the foul line, and it's giving her the ability to really drive in and give her that and one opportunity.
Good display of ball handling there. Gabriela Unse now kicks it out. Christopher from deep. No. Humble with the loose ball collected. Over the timeline. Scrobot wants it, but there disrupting the play was Unse. She hits the deck hard, trying to keep the ball alive. Pair of substitutions, Gabrielle McFarland checks in alongside Grace Pongang. Pongang, just 2 games played last season with the Rebels. Comes off the bench here today. 1 bounce dribble. Look for the shot. Working with the screen, 2-person game. Cameron De La Salle gets it knocked out of bounds. Alessia Valili with the active hands defensively. Here's McFarland. Squaring up, kicks it to the near corner. Christopher. Guignard with great defense forces Christopher into the travel. Turnover. 5:10 left in the opening frame. Nearly 3 minutes gone by. Valili over the timeline with the ball. Into the corner, shots up. Kirsten Goudreau off the mark. Pongang moving into the front court. Christopher, no. Skrobot fighting for the rebound. Pongang comes away with it. Pongang to the hoop. Left-handed finish. Sydney Skrobot takes the foul.
I don't know if anyone was able to pick up on it, but Pongang took a hesitation in the air, which allowed Skrobot, because Skrobot was swinging regardless because she thought she had timed it perfect enough to get the block, but because of her hesitation, she swung and actually hit her hand, which allowed her to go to the line for the extra point. But smart thinking on that one.
Goudreau dancing at the top. Moving into the paint, loses the dribble, but that's off of the foot of a Rebel and out of bounds, so Lowell and Prep maintain possession here.
So far, Llewellyn has really been committing to what we've heard their players echo yesterday and today, which is they want to fall back on hard defense. And they've been doing that so far. There's been no real easy baskets that L'Oreal has been kind of able to really capitalize on.
The Rebels corral the loose ball. Head up the whole way looking for an open teammate. Pongang with the handoff. Gets it right back. Takes to the left, 1-2 stepping into the paint. And another and one opportunity. Grace Pongang really making an impact in her short time on the court. So Jessica Bila was the leading scorer for the Rebels last year, just over 12 points per game. She joins the Royal Crown team that's pretty stacked. And we'll see them on this court next. Ella Sove over the timeline now. From the elbow, yes. The 1-point lead for the Rebels. Here's Pongang. Layla Christopher, top side, working to the left. Pongang dives, has it. 1 bounce dribble. Foul, gonna go on Ellie Sove. Back to the free throw line is Grace Pongang. As Margot Lemon-Ukes checks in. Layla Christopher to the bench. Oh, they're saying the foul was on the floor, not in the act of shooting.
Well, it's all right.
Here's Pongang, squares up. Picks up the dribble, null ball knock, loose. Sove over the timeline. Michaela Tripp. That pass interrupted. And finally able to corral the loose ball. McFarland gets it to Lemon-Ukes for the 2.
That's precisely why you trail the ball. You don't necessarily understand that it's going to go in every single time. You have to be there to support your teammates at all times.
Humble into traffic. Loose ball, Rebel ball, out on the run. And slowing down the play, Michaela Tripp just takes the foul near the half court.
That's a good foul to take. I mean, it's been so back and forth lately that if you have one to give, use it, take your time, and then allow yourself and your team to just truly get set up on defense.
6th team foul on the Rebels. So Lowell and Prep shooting free throws from here on out. 7 fouls to get to the bonus in this tournament. Pongang, far side, a couple of jab steps. De La Salle wants the screen. No roll. Pongang double teamed. Gets the shot off, but it doesn't fall. Guignard. Guignard going for the rebound. Foul is going to be on the arm.
It was close. I think she was just a step too late.
Kayla Tripp up the right-hand side. The handoff to Sove. Into the corner. Looking down low for Guignard. That's off her leg and into the hands of Pongang. Trying to use her size to get to the rack. Gives it up. McFarland has that swatted away and touches it while out of bounds. Another substitution for the Rebels. Checking out Cameron De La Salle. Ellie Sove over the timeline now. Lennox Belair picks up the loose ball. Guignard makes her move to the basket, fouled on the way downhill. 3rd team foul on Lowell and Prep. Under 2 remaining here in the opening frame. Quick inbound pass, feet set, shot is up. Goudreau, but that's off the mark. Here come the Rebels. Pongang, one bounce, lets her defender get by her in the air and finishes the play. The opening quarter belongs to Grace Pongang. A couple of and-one opportunities, a couple of great layups, patience, playing down low, humble with a jump step. Kirsten Goudreau, turnaround. Can't get it to go. That ball tapped out of bounds. The Rebels have possession on the side out. Good active hands on defense. Ellie Sove there. Nice move to the basket, but unable to finish there was Gabrielle McFarland. And another foul, that being the 7th of the quarter. So Pongang should be heading back to the free throw line here. Scorer's table communicating with the officials, and it will be a shooting foul for Pongang. As we approach the 1 minute mark remaining in the first quarter, 13-8. The Rebels lead over Lowell and Prep. We're going to switch things up instead of bringing in a player. We've got a coach joining us up here in the broadcast booth. Coach Dwayne Ramage, nice to see you. How you been?
I'm good. Nice to see you guys again.
Haven't seen you in a month or so. How have you been spending the rest of your August?
Hey, it feels like yesterday.
It really
It
does.
still feels like yesterday. The month has been great. Focusing on my mental health and my physical well-being, and then getting geared up for training camp as well. I'm at a new school teaching-wise, so it's been a lot of transition, but it's been for the positive for sure.
Perfect. And now we're back into kind of the preparation for the OSBA season upcoming here with this fall showcase. A lot of great talent on
Indeed.
display. We were talking about some of the players shuffling, and obviously this new wave of talent with a lot of the big names kind of leaving and moving on, either to the next level, NCAA, or just going down to the States to get more reps. Well, what have you seen?
Solid still, and to add there, I mean, there you have some kids that have also come back from the States as well, and you could see that there's definitely some change in their attitude and their general demeanor in their approach to basketball. But the talent overall has been pretty solid. I mean, you have a number of U Sport coaches here also watching the 2025, 26, 27, 28 classes, and you got a bit of everything. So it's kind of I guess a melting pot of talent, so to speak.
It's almost a bit of a shift, at least when I was kind of growing up within like the rep systems. There wasn't, these programs itself were kind of just starting out. And I know for at least what I was told from a lot of my coaches is that if you kind of wanted to pursue a career either overseas or anything, it had to be in the States. And you mentioned that a lot of players are actually coming back to Canada. What specifically are you seeing is the shift to why the competition level is honestly either matching or getting a little bit more competitive than the United States?
The kids are coming back for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they want to be closer to home, whether or not they want to be developed more coaching wise. Maybe there's a relationship that they've developed with other Canadian talent or previous coaches that they may have had experience with. Um, Sometimes it's even financial. Like it really changes the scope on what they're looking at. But I think what a lot of Canadian programs are now doing, they're running some of the top Canadian prep programs are now running full year national schedules now. So a lot of them are getting those similar opportunities of traveling across the border and getting similar exposure than any other American would be. So um, for them, for Canadians, it's an easy comfort zone for them to come home and still be part of a program where they're running a full national schedule. You got new programs that have kind of popped up a little bit, and I think for them it's going to be an uphill climb for them as far as them figuring out the blueprint and developing their own landscape as far as how to develop the talent and still be able to run an efficient schedule and then still be able to keep the talent coming in for future times.
At the end of the just before the buzzer there, Ellie Sove makes it a 2-point game. She's got the last 5 points for Lowell Prep. One of those returning players who went to the States and coming back, Ifeosa Oliogu. We watched him play last night for William Prep. He put on quite a show just by himself. He had that off the backboard alley-oop, two-handed jam, 3 jams in the first half. They look like a threat this year in the OSBA.
Absolutely. A lot of those guys in that Williams Academy program, I think, are with the same program, which is Canada Elite. But the familiarity for him with the coaching staff, his teammates, and he's close to home now. And him being in the States for the period of time that he was, I think, definitely was a valuable experience. And now he looks a lot healthier. Having seen him this weekend, has now come back, and you can see that there's definitely a shift and there's definitely a difference in his game. He's developed a greater sense of leadership as well, and the guys are rallying around that leadership, and you saw it the couple of games that they played this weekend.
Another player who caught our attention plays for Code's national team from New York, Jacob Sannon. He had 28 points in their game against Ridley. He comes in, to this league, not really, trying to make a presence for himself, but trying to create, a team atmosphere right away. And it's difficult to kind of do that. But when you have a lot of these guys playing at a high level and willing to be selfless, it kind of makes it that much easier. And you're getting we're talking to a lot of these players, and they have selfless answers. It's a team first mentality, which I think, obviously as a recruiter, you want to have that kind of mentality on your team, right? You don't want individuals with the me first mentality, and that can be harmful to the recruiting process.
Yeah, guys like Sannon, I think Orangeville Prep has a kid. There's also a bit of that shift that's starting to happen where I think in U Sports they a couple of programs that bring a couple of kids from the States and be part of the program. Now you're seeing that on the prep side as well, and I think for them, as you said, they're not only they're building a name for themselves, but they also get to teach Canadian kids like what it's like to play with a different counterpart or a different mindset, a different physical sense of the game. Um, Now it's you know, North America is now a hotbed. It's not you know, North America is now a hotbed. It's not just just about the United States. Canada is now a place where Canadian and U.S. coaches are going to be coming over here a lot more often.
And now it's with leagues like this, it allows players to become more evenly matched. I know at least a few years ago, you could tell the kids that were training in the summer that had the AAU teams that they could be a part of, there was such a drastic difference. But for these tournaments and these teams and these players, a lot of them are getting the exact same amount of training. What do you look for in order to kind of differentiate to yourself, okay, this is a player that I could potentially see having on my roster and having on my team? What are those key attributes you're looking for?
I think for me personally, I have the blessing and the benefit that me having coached with Team Ontario, having coached with other OBA programs like CIA Bounce back in the day, Malton Mavericks, it's given me a lot of opportunity to develop a lot of good relationships with a lot of players, parents, um, other coaches, and now being a part of the Brock University family. I'm an alumni from Brock, by the way, but it's all me and my relationship with the coaching staff. Like there's a philosophy that we have, and really for us it's just like, okay, well, can we see that person be a part of that program when it comes to, character, intelligence, toughness, and then for me, having seen a lot of these kids over the years, I get to see kind of their journey as far as where they've come from to where they are now. Um, what have they put in since then? Where have they got? What have they done over the summer? What have they not done in the summer? And it's something for me. Like I think the relationships very important, especially for Canadian kids. Now that they're traveling abroad and they're doing all these things, they're building additional experiences. And for me, having coached here in Canada and traveled to the U.S., no different than any one of these athletes as a coach. I get a full gamut of seeing where the development is. So
And are you
it's very rewarding for us.
you having these conversations with the players themselves or with the parents, or is it important to have those conversations with the parents and set the expectations for them as well?
Well, I mean, for me, the biggest thing is about transparency,
Mm.
right? I'm not the type of person that has ever sold some type of dream to a kid or a parent. I'm very upfront and direct with them about what I've seen, what I think they need, and what is their next step, or what are they bringing to the table now, and what they probably should be working on over the course of time. And then at the same time, the idea is that I'll continue to monitor them. I'll continue to watch. I'll continue to see. So, for me being here at the showcase, it's about bringing Brock University and having them be a consistent presence for all these type of events.
And what about the exposure now? I mean, we're live streaming, 5, 6 games today. We did 8, 9 yesterday. And so the scouts that can't make it, or, ones overseas or down in the States, they can get a good look at, what some of these players are doing up here in Ontario and in Canada as well. And how does that apply any more pressure to these kids, do you think?
No, I actually don't. Social media is a big thing now.
Mm.
You're right.
The kids have so much access, and it's definitely, I mean, it's definitely convenient for us coaches. I mean, for me, as much as I like to look online, I love to trust my eyes and be in the event. That's my personal bias, but I have no problem watching them online. I just don't feel I get the same feel, or I don't know what you call, like je ne sais quoi, I guess,
Yeah.
so to speak, when you're actually in the event and you could see how their demeanor on the bench, you could see how they're interacting with other people. There's a whole lot more than just what's happening on the court for me to see if that person is a fit for what Brock University is looking for.
Brock University, big run last year. The women's team and the men's team. I remember calling a couple of games and a couple of players, and it seems like the OUA. Obviously before you have the Ravens and Dalhousie in terms of the Canadian landscape, but it looks
Right.
like just as this league is shifting and getting more talent, so is the OUA and
100%.
Canadian collegiate basketball.
100%.
And that, I mean, you're getting a lot of players coming up through these ranks and getting there too, right?
Well, the OUA, in my estimation, is the toughest league in Canada.
Yeah.
And getting out of there is not an easy deal. I mean, I think we were fortunate to have the run that we had, despite I think we had like a 500 record going into nationals. But for us, the fact that we were healthy and being able to galvanize together and have a players buy in the latter stages of the season, and then be able to turn the corner and make that run, beating some other ranked programs and qualifying was definitely a great feat. But I think it's also a tribute to the program in itself. I mean, we've been to nationals 2 of the last 3 years now. And we have the expectation again this year of qualifying for nationals again. So, when the bar is high, we want to keep that bar high, and that's been the focus. And I'm sure other OUA programs have a similar focus. But the competition is stiff. Getting out of here is not easy. I think people don't understand how good OUA basketball actually is right now. And I encourage definitely even the current prep programs that are here and the programs that we're watching. I definitely encourage them to come watch a OUA game and really see what it's like to understand what U Sports basketball is about, but then also use that as a team building type of opportunity. And for players, is it a fit for them? Sometimes some of them struggle as far as making that adjustment and figuring out, okay, well, is U Sports for me? Because how it goes. Everyone thinks about the NCAA because that's the first thing they see on television. They see March Madness. They see a lot of things, and for them, they have the dream of being on that big screen or whatever. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be the goal, but at the same time, you could still be at a U Sports school, have great seasons, still go to the NCAA even now. I think 9 kids went to the NCAA this year. And one went from Brock. So
there you go.
So I think the opportunities are there. I think the kids I think as an athlete, you just shouldn't sell short any opportunities that are presented in front of you.
Let me ask you this then. I feel like another route for OUA players is obviously the OUA draft to the CEBL, where you get a lot of exposure. And it's a great league that's growing in Canada.
It is.
Vic Razzo won the championship this year with the Niagara Levites.
Congrats, Vic Razzo.
And head coach of the Ridley College Tigers. Is there an opportunity then here at all to kind of marry this prep school basketball with OUA, maybe bring in the Tigers for a practice there at Brock and kind of start building a bridge between OSBA teams and prep school and the OUA?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that. I think last year as an assistant coach at Brock and
landscape starts
More so towards the mindset. And it's starting in these prep programs, athletes actively playing in the summer, whether it be being invited to camps, competing in AAU tournaments, competing at the national or the provincial level. Basketball doesn't stop for them. And I know JJ and I have been kind of talking about the longevity of that. And we do see more recently now there's a lot more players who unfortunately maybe are more inept to injuries or are kind of not really taking care of their bodies away from the court to allow themselves to flourish when they perform. Is there anything that you can really say in terms of like an advice to younger players to give themselves the best opportunity and the best chance possible to really have a long-lasting career? Because physical basketball at this level can only last so long if you're not taking care of your body off of the court.
I have this conversation all the time with trainers and other coaches. And, as a teacher, one of the things that I talk about in phys ed is I call it the 5 Ps. And 5 Ps are proper preparation prevents poor performance. And for young athletes, like they want to treat themselves like machines, and unfortunately we're not. So it's no different than a great motorized vehicle. Like it's gonna need an oil change. It's gonna overheat at some point. Like you need to have its proper fluids. You need to take care of the tension and the belts and the tires. Those are all things that require maintenance. And as a human being or as a student athlete, the same things apply. Um, I definitely encourage things like rest, even having some form of routine that they would have in order to manage your bodies, whether it be just like it's more than just getting ice at the end of the game,
Yes.
right? Like I think a lot of kids are have a habit of doing that, and I think that unfortunately it's just not enough with the mileage that these kids put on themselves. Like you said, like it's basketball now is perpetually all year round now. Like you're going from prep to AAU and then back to prep school again. Like prep schools are now running schedules similar to colleges and universities, playing 40 games a season. They're training sometimes 2 times a day, one like a 1 2 hour session in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and then but before you know it, it's nightfall, and you got to find a way of taking care of your body, and then do your homework, your schoolwork or your homework, and then repeat the process again. Um, it's very tough. It's very taxing. Um, you got to find rest. Sleep is probably one of the most important things for these kids as young athletes and young growing athletes, and then figuring out what will work for them as far as a routine, as far as nutrition, as far as getting a stretching routine, developing a physical plan when it's off season and when it's in season. A lot of that requires education, unfortunately, right? So you got to put yourself in a position where maybe you do have a strength and conditioning coach that can sit you down or sit the team down and have those conversations, or if a coach has a training background that can educate their athletes with regards to those things, and plus you got to educate the parents, because at the same time, as much as a coach, you're only there for certain hours of the day. You're not there the whole time, so the parents do play a part in regards to that, and I think for some of them, you know, as a parent, I guess for a parent, it's a little difficult when you're asking your kid to it's almost like asking your kid to clean your make your bed,
Yeah.
and you say like, why aren't you stretching? Why aren't you stretching? Go make your bed. Go make your bed. Like it's almost the same type of
Gotta be
nagging thing,
yeah.
right? And as a young teenager, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, mom, yeah, whatever.
I know, and
Dad,
you
roll
feel
your eyes.
elastic too at that
Right,
age.
exactly. And yeah, you're a world beater at that age. Like you think nothing could affect you. No, a truck hits you, yeah, you're made of steel. You're
Yeah.
not worried. You're the Incredible Hulk. You're not worried about those type of things. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you get your first injury, usually that starts a downward spiral with
Yes.
regards to not only falling behind on what you should be learning in school, not only you're falling behind in basketball as far as what you should be learning on the floor, but then mentally it also becomes a bit of a deal with regards to your psychology, as far as how can you return back to being the same natural performer that you were prior to being hurt. So it can be a long process. I think for them the education is important, and then the application of what you've learned is the next thing. So you can take all the knowledge you want, but the question is how much are you applying it? How often are you applying it? Is it a natural routine for you, and does it become an actual habit? You want to make that a habit. And unfortunately, it's a tough thing, and sometimes you need others in your village to kind of make sure that happens.
Yeah.
It happens in the U sport level as well. So it's not just in the prep thing. Like I'm just talking all across the board.
Yeah.
It's just it's a tough deal.
There are a few players who kind of get it and understand it and incorporate it. We were talking to Justice Hazley yesterday from Royal Crown, and he's one of those guys. We asked him, "What do you do when you do need a break?" And he goes, "I sleep. I sleep. I maybe do some conditioning."
Yeah.
Right.
But he understands the importance of sleep and coming to the gym fresh the next day. And so I think the education is there. It's whether or not you can absorb it and put it into practice, like you said.
Well, not every day. Well, I mean, not everyone could afford a $5,000 Normatec system to
Yeah.
like LeBron James spends $1 million a year to take care of his body, right? He probably has a cryogenic chamber of some sort
Likely,
at home. Right?
likely.
Probably.
So there's just as much as there's an investment in basketball, there's got to be an investment on your body too, and
It's your instrument, right?
yeah,
At the end of the
100%.
day.
It's you can't get a scholarship if you can't play. Like the
Yes.
saying is true. The best ability is availability.
Yeah, love that.
That's what it rings very true. And the only way you can do that is you got to make yourself available. So you got to take care of your body just as much as just as well you want to perform on the floor, you got to be able to be on the floor in order to do that.
Absolutely.
Gabrielle McFarland gives the Rebels a 5-point lead here, a minute 18 left in the opening half. Lowell and Prep and the Rebels going at it toe for toe. Nice bounce pass down low, kick out to the corner. That's good basketball ball movement. The shooter's touch coming from the hands of Kirsten Goudreau. We talk a lot about the kind of the men's leagues in the landscape, but when you look at the women too, and kind of the Smith twins, and they're off to Toledo, and obviously we talked about Agat McKeer going down to play in the States, and a lot of good Canadian basketball is getting those scholarships. But you mentioned OUA, a definite route for a lot of these players as well. And we're just excited to see kind of the next wave of talent coming through. Have you seen any of the kids from the Ontario team? You caught up with them this weekend?
Yes, I have. I actually just spoke to Amari Lincoln, who is one of our alternates. Spoke with him just briefly. I've seen a number of guys already. Like I expect to see Sammy Uraz later today.
He's now with Crestwood, right?
He's at Crestwood
Bramble
Prep.
snatched him up.
Yeah, he's at Crestwood Prep. Saw Isaiah Lucasa the last couple of days with Orangeville. So yeah, no, it's this past year with Team Ontario is something special. I can't put my finger on to describe it. It was just one of those things that the experience was very, very rewarding and valuable. And then the relationships that were built with the athletes over the period of time. And it felt very short. It didn't even feel long. It's very weird, but having to go see them, and then they see you across the way, and then there's nothing but smiles coming from both ends, right? You're checking in on each other and saying hello, and even as a coaching staff, same thing. Like me and Tyrone were gotten a whole lot closer. Crazy thing is, I used to coach against Tyrone when Tyrone was a player. So to now go full circle with them and run it back as two coaches together. We're working in the same building as with the TDSB as well. So it's just that relationship that we have, and working with Paul, working with Brock and other guys. Just it's almost like a brotherhood. In a way where you see each other, you're more than you're so happy to see them, and then see them all be successful in the same right it's definitely a great feeling.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it was a magical week there at York University. Obviously, the time leading up to it was great as well. I mean, they're spending all their time together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt.
Really clicking and developing those relationships that we hope continue on, and they can have shared experiences beyond that summer. Thank you so much for joining us. We're getting close to the halftime here. It's knotted at 30.
Thank you very much. This is great. This is fun.
Yeah, I mean,
I can see why you do it. This
Oh,
is
yeah,
fun.
right?
This is fun.
It's a good experience, right?
Yeah, no doubt. 100%.
These interviews definitely break up the play-by-play and the color really nicely. Don't get me wrong, I love doing that as well, but we've been talking to some great players, and they're all very well spoken, and it seems that they've all been media trained, but I don't know that that's the case.
Yeah, hey, you know what? One of the like I said, character matters, and that's one of the things that even I look for as a coach is, I talked to one coach about one of their athletes, and the first question I asked is what is he like as a person? I see him on the floor, but what is he like when he's not around?
Yeah.
Right. And we had a great conversation about him, and it's like every person that I ask about, it's always different questions, but character is always one of the first questions that I ask about within my recruitment.
You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're a bad teammate, nobody wants you.
Well, even just a bad teammate, but are you a community guy?
Right.
Willing to sign an autograph for an aspiring 9-year-old? Do you want to be part of the community as far as going to a hospital and seeing kids that are not as fortunate as you, et cetera, right? So understanding that it's more than just basketball, it's a life-changing experience, and for them, we hope that kids will take whatever they get out of basketball to make positive lives out of themselves with them, and then come back and contribute to society when basketball slows down, or when things are done, or when there's a shift in career, or whatever the case may be. But basketball is always going to continue to live on. But as long as you're developing that character through basketball, then life is going to be good. Life could always be good.
There you go. Coach Dwayne Ramage, thank you for joining us. We appreciate the time. We're
Thank
going
you
to
so
step
much.
aside for
Thank you,
the
Coach.
Thank you for
halftime.
having me. Appreciate
32-30.
it.
Low Ellen Prep lead, Luis Riel Rebels. We'll be back in 4 minutes for second half action.
Hello, everybody. If you're just tuning in with us right now, we have a score, a deficit of just 2 points, 32-30. Only 2 points is separating Louis Riel and Low Ellen Prep. Very, very close game, tight game so far. If you had the pleasure of listening in the first half of play, we had a long, in-depth conversation with assistant coach for Brock University, Dwayne Ramage. He pretty much gave, for lack of a better word, a blueprint of what he looks for in terms of the recruiting process, how he scouts players going on to that next level, and also the high competitiveness that we can see coming out of U Sports and how it has honestly remained competitive and is starting to become more competitive than United States. So there's a lot of heavy competition, a lot of competition that we're seeing this weekend, not even in this game specifically, everything is kind of just coming together, and Canadian basketball is really making its true mark.
It's only up from here, they say. 2-point lead, Llewellyn Prep over the Rebels from Louis Riel. Foul on the floor sends Cameron De La Salle to the free throw line. De La Salle just a shade under 10 points per game last season to go along with 3 rebounds.
I know we mentioned how with Capital Courts they had that sister program where you're able to kind of foster a relationship. Well, with Coach Ramage, he was giving that advice to everybody who had the benefit of listening to that over live stream, and also people who had the opportunity to listen to it after the broadcast is over. That was intangible gold that he gave us. It was honestly probably the best thing for people who are coming up in the league, what they can expect and also what they can strive for to push themselves and to get to the next level.
And what those coaches at the next level are looking for in players at their age right now. Driving into traffic, shot clock violation. Kirsten Goudreau unable to get the shot off in time. A little too much ball movement for Llewellyn Prep. Didn't find a lane to the basket until it was too late.
And he shared a little bit of his own history, but not only coaching at the U Sports level in the OUA, but also experience at the professional level, coaching at the high school level in the TDSB. We are seeing now a lot more coaches coming to prep leagues like this who are coaches outside of this for professional teams, and it's honestly translating into the teams. We see a new level of experience, a higher level of demand for excellence, and that's boding well for them progressing and becoming better, not only players, but better people, because they know what to expect and they know how to expect people to act at the higher level. So not only on the players constantly playing basketball, we see coaches now aren't even giving themselves time off.
They feel like they take time off, then whoever's working harder than them is going to get the first opportunity, right? But there is something to be said about equal balance in terms of taking care of your physical and mental health, like the way Coach Dwayne Ramage said he was doing following the hectic schedule for Team Ontario at the Nationals. And taking care of yourself should be top of priority number one every single time.
It's interesting, too, because for most people, hearing that they go from prep to AAU, some of them go directly from AAU to the provincial level, the national level camps, and in total, that will give you about 2 weeks until you go back to school. So realistically, in the whole 12-month calendar, you get a total of 2 weeks with complete nothingness. Yeah. So really creating that schedule, like he said, for yourself, that day in and day out regimen that you can stick to, is going to bode well for your longevity in this game.
Riel Croitier at the free throw line now. Looking to give the Rebels the lead back off the back of the iron. Rebounded Violet Humble out ahead of the pack. Humble downhill. Sees a cutter, gets it back, but she was out of bounds. The pass coming from the hands of Kirsten Goudreau. Llewellyn Prep now with the press. De La Salle takes the handoff from Gabrielle McFarland over the timeline. De La Salle downhill, using the backboard, yes. The 2-point lead for the Rebels. Goudreau able to handle that pass, working to her left, gives it right back. The Lily, far side. Humble. Down inside, that pass off the mark from Sydney Scrobot. Pass intended for Sarah Guignard. Too hot to handle.
I know it didn't really result in a basket there, but what I like that I'm seeing is the calmness that Llewellyn Prep is kind of having, using the entire shot clock, not rushing an opportunity, giving themselves to kind of run everything through and see if they can result in an opportunity. I'm liking that they're not rushing the ball as much.
Dribble drive, inside, spin move, shots up, gets the bounce. Inez Isusi. Correction, Layla Christopher. Guignard moves downhill, trying to move her defensive assignment. Grace Pongang reaching over the top, foul. And Guignard to the line for 2.
We mentioned last game when we saw Llewellyn play that Guignard was showing like flashes of physicality and not really fully committing to the strength we know her to have driving to the net. And she's been doing that constantly this game. So I'm assuming it's something probably the coach suggested for her to do, or maybe instead of suggested, strongly encouraged her to do more so in this game, because she has the strength.
Challenge. That is a challenge.
I think challenge is a better word. You're so correct. She has the ability to do that at a consistent level, and she's honestly doing herself a disservice by not using one of her strongest attributes.
Loose ball corralled by Pongang. Quick pass ahead. De La Salle off the iron. There's a foul there on Layla Christopher as Guignard hits the deck, helped up by all 4 teammates. And perhaps out of a precaution, she'll head to the bench, and in checks Ella McCarty. Three-point game, 5:14 left in the third quarter. Here at Bill Crothers Secondary School 2024 OSBA Fall Showcase. Thanks for tuning in on the OSBA TV YouTube page. I'm JJ Evison alongside Sydney Holmes, bringing you all the action from center court here in Markham. The referee showing off his handles. A little behind the back pass to himself.
We're seeing some skills from the refs. Yesterday we saw one jump up, almost dunk, just trying to pull the mesh down to fix the net.
Gabriela Yuanse finds the cutter baseline. No, Pongang, second chance opportunity is good and one.
It's really easy to fall into the rhythm of just trying to out-jump somebody to get the rebound, but you have to use the body, you have to box out to get better positioning.
Offensive rebound and another foul. This time it's on Gabrielle McFarland, who goes to the free throw line for 2. Foul's going to be on Humble. McFarland rattles the first one through. The second, good as well. Guignard was checked out. She checks back in. Seems to be okay. Well, Ellen Prep stuck 7 now. Quick pass ahead. Michaela Tripp picks up the dribble. Now onto the near side. It's Humble. Humble up. Uses backboard. No. Fighting for the rebound. Up top. Time and space. Shot is up and good. Michaela Tripp. De La Salle takes the handoff from McFarland. Gives it right back. McFarland moving downhill. That disrupted. Guignard out on the run, has one ahead of her. Gonna slow down and wait for some teammates to come. And a foul's gonna be called on De La Salle for reaching in. Guignard made some move to the basket. Blocked by Pongang. McFarland now. Spin move. Into the lane. Uses backboard. Gets the 2. Smooth footwork there. Gabrielle McFarland allowed her to get wide open. Humble tries to respond. No. De La Salle pushing the pace. Shooters in the corner. Fakes a shot into the lane, off the backboard. That's another 2 points. And the Rebels up by 8. Elisov with the pass. Guignard shot. Off glass, then iron, then into the hands of the Rebels and De La Salle over the timeline. into the corner, and stepping out of bounds was Margot Lemon-Ukes. 3:10 remaining in the third quarter, 44-36, 8-point game in favor of the Rebels. Coming up next, the Royal Crown women taking on Bill Crothers women, the host team.
I'm interested to see. I know we had unfortunate injuries to come out of the Bill Crothers lineup. 2 players left the game early. There was one with a shoulder injury, another with an ankle. I'm interested to see if they are back and better and healthy and able to play in the game after.
Well, Michaela Williams suffered that shoulder injury, and I saw her in the gymnasium yesterday with a sling on. So don't think we'll see her today, but we do hope for a speedy recovery for her, and we do hope to see her at some point throughout this season. She was an impactful player in the minutes she did play on Friday. Inbound pass leads to another foul on the defensive end. 9 fouls in the quarter. Coming off the screen, bounce pass, disrupted, stepping out of bounds, steal. Tripp gets it into Guignard, but the pass disrupted. Now fight for it on the ground. Jump ball, possession arrow favoring the Rebels. Did he not point the direction of the Rebels? Yes.
Yeah.
And he still is. There seems to be confusion. And now
There we go.
everybody realizes who has possession.
They're starting to get more consistent putting up the arrow on the scoreboard, which I think will help everybody.
Isusi keeps. And now gives it up to Lemon-Ukes. A little too physical that time. As foul's going to go on Michaela Tripp for the push. Gabrielle McFarland, short. Guignard with the rebound. Ellie Sauve dribbling on the near side. Yet another foul called. Michaela Desjardins called for the push.
We had the privilege to see on Louis Riel before her game today. And one of the main things she said that she is kind of proud of on her game is her ability to never be stagnant. She's always rotating on the floor. She's always moving. And you can see, even though sometimes it doesn't always result in a basket for herself, creating movement on the floor allows the floor to get more spaced out. The defender is going to be more focused on you because they don't know where you're going. And it creates space. And we've seen it work so well when she is on the block and then just cuts out. It creates that gap, allowing her teammates to really attack and drive the middle.
McFarland downhill. Nice pass inside. Lemon-Ukes can't handle it. Fight for the ball. Another jump ball. This time Lowell and Prep come away with possession. Trailing 6 here. Minute 55 left in the third quarter. Ellie Sauve gives it up. Side step, Alessia Valili off the mark. De La Salle bounce pass into the corner. Now getting position down low is Isusi. Jump ball called Rebel ball in the offensive side. And we've got a timeout on the floor with 1:34 remaining in the third quarter. Gabrielle McFarland having quite the game. Cameron De La Salle doing a lot of the ball handling for the Rebels. On the other side, Lowell and Prep. Ellie Sove had a great end to the first half, trying to get herself going here in the third quarter. And just looking for a little bit more leadership from Sydney Scrobot.
I was going to say that was something we mentioned at the beginning of the game, was she really this season, and that's what she told us, is she wanted to work more on her ball handling and creating plays and starting plays. But, and again, it's hard sometimes because when you just slowly started putting that in your rotation, it's not always going to translate immediately onto the court. But I would just like to see her putting herself in a position where she's allowing herself to really start plays. Give yourself the ball. If anything, if you're a leader on the floor, call for it. Say, give me the ball, go down the floor, and call a play. Sometimes it takes yourself having the initiative to really start it rather than waiting for the perfect moment.
Rebel ball on the baseline. Over the top, into traffic. Loose ball, corralled. Now shooter on the far side, feet set, shots up a little too strong. And Ellie Sove comes away with the rebound, picks it up. Gonna get it right back. Losing the dribble for a split second. Sove over to Belair. And Guignard hits the deck. Sarah Guignard, 6.3 points per game last season for Lowell and Prep. Just a hair over 5 rebounds per game as well. Also a steal per game. Here she is at the free throw line to bring her team to within 4 as we approach the final minute of the third quarter, 1:10 left. The Rebels on the offensive. Strong move to the basket from Isusi, but she coughs it up right into the hands of Alessia Valili. Valili has a shooter to her right, keeps the ball, finds a lane. Left-handed scoop, no. Guignard snatches the rebound, goes up, blocked there by McFarland. Second chance opportunity for Guignard, who goes back to the free throw line. 2 for 2 on her last trip there. Looking to cut this deficit down to 2 as the gymnasium begins to fill here on this warm Sunday afternoon. Just past 1 o'clock, Sunday, September 29th, here in Markham, Ontario.
It's a great basketball-filled weekend. I'm excited seeing every single game. We have, which I'm not really surprised by, but the amount of support, fans, parents, family members that I've seen consistently with every single game has been fantastic. It's lovely, and especially for the players to have that support.
McFarland keeps, picks up the dribble, has to give it to somebody. The handoff to De La Salle. De La Salle sets her feet from the elbow. No, rebound there and put back, Inez Isusi. Picking up speed down the middle. On the near side now, Michaela Tripp gives it right back to Valili. Sove on the far side. Guignard loses the handle, has a shooter in the corner, right down. Sove inside, stepping through, and fouled as she tries to make her way for the layup. So Ellie Sove to the free throw line. 4 remains. It's a 4-point lead for Louis Riel Rebels.
As we're nearing the end of the third quarter here, Louis Riel is doing a fantastic job of setting screens. They're setting good high screens. They're making good contact. The last piece that they're missing, though, is the seal at the end. Yes, so they're setting the good screen. They're getting themselves in a good position. But if you're setting that screen, when you roll, you're not just rolling to the net hoping to get the ball. You have to roll and seal that defender first and then go. So that's just another added piece that I want to see them add in the fourth quarter.
Poitier has to give it up. McFarland, less than a second, doesn't get the shot off in time. And at the end of 3 quarters, it's a 2-point lead for the Louis Riel Rebels over Lowell and Prep here on the main court at Bill Carruthers Secondary School. 3 more games on the slate Next up is the women from Royal Crown taking on the women from Bill Crothers. Then we got men on the court. Codes national team taking on Orangeville Prep. And then we are going to follow that up with a D-League junior game, if I'm not mistaken. We'll get word on that shortly. So stick with us if you're hanging out on OSBA TV, YouTube. We appreciate you tuning in. Again, it's JJ Evison alongside Sydney Holmes. We will have a rotating cast of players coming through the broadcast booth. We'll get some insight into their preparation for the season, goals for the team as well as individual goals, and what their takeaways are from this showcase tournament here in Markham, Ontario, this beautiful weekend to close out September and get ready for the start of the regular season upcoming in October. WNBA playoffs get going today. The Las Vegas Aces taking on the New York Liberty and the Connecticut Sun taking on the Minnesota Lynx.
I was gonna say I'm a little nervous. I'm
Would
nervous.
you have some stake in the game or something?
No, gosh, no. That would tip me over the edge. I think the only reason I am is you and I talked about this off the broadcast yesterday. We're seeing a matchup that was a finals matchup last year in the semis.
Different. It's different.
It's a different energy, and I can understand that the viewership is growing. It grew exponentially this year in terms of women's basketball.
Like 200% higher.
Exactly. So this is actually a good test to see when you have what is quote-unquote the marquee teams from last season facing off against each other outside of the finals. It's going to be interesting to see the same effect going into the finals, which I'm very, very excited for playoffs to start.
And you can't write off the other matchup, right? The Connecticut Sun and the Minnesota Lynx, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. Bridget Carleton, a Canadian, a big contributing factor there. They did that. The Minnesota Lynx played the Chicago Sky at the Scotiabank Arena 2 summers ago. I was at that game.
Same.
Were you working that game?
I was actually fortunate enough to attend as a fan.
As a fan,
yep.
Perfect, yeah. My favorite part, I always say this little tidbit of information, my favorite part from going to that game, aside from the product on the floor and seeing the WNBA hoopers here in Toronto, was the lack of lineup for the washer.
Yes.
In the men, usually you're waiting in a 4 or 5 minute lineup, as we have Inez Isusi on the floor. Took an errant hit, grabbing her face. Hopefully she's okay. But you know what I'm saying. You go to a Maple Leaf game, you go to a Raptor game, and you're waiting for an extended period of time to get into the facilities. At that WNBA game, that wasn't an issue.
No, I was also very not surprised. It was touching to see the amount of women that filled the arena.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Like, it was, not to say that there wasn't men there. There was lots of fathers, brothers, grandfathers there, but there was a tremendous amount of women's support in that build. It was like the energy was something that was just I've never experienced that before. I've been to WNBA games before, but it's never been at the level that it is now. And so to see the presence that it had in Toronto before we even have a team, we're getting one obviously in 2026.
2026. That summer's going to be crazy down there.
Yes. So it's just the energy, the culture is just fantastic to see. Also for two teams who, in much respect, aren't really even Canadian WNBA teams in terms of distance-wise. Like, we see, if anything, I know a lot of people are more inept to go, again, with New York. They have a lot of the marquee players, not too many strong depth players that we've seen over the past few years that people would recognizably mention, because the WNBA over the past few years has become more and more common for people to kind of watch. So the fact that people packed it, it was refreshing to see.
They sold out of merch too that weekend.
Yep. Yes. So it's actually funny. It was one of the benefits, I guess, of working there. You kind of get to know everything. They sent in merch, but I don't think they realized the amount of people that would actually be wanting to buy everything. So they sold out well before the fourth quarter. And they also had that statue that people could go and sign. They had that outside.
Big WNBA statue. That lived on the sea just across from Rogers Center for a while, right across from Steam Whistle Brewery. And looks like Inez Isusi is up, not putting any weight on her right ankle, as the officials are mopping up the floor with a towel. So an ongoing issue here on the center court, where we've heard some players talk about, the condensation and the slipperiness of the floor.
You're also bound to have some issues with the court, especially when you look at the U Sports level, OUA. There's always somebody at least off to the side who either works for the school or works during
Yeah,
the game.
yeah, they
that
got
can,
the brush
right?
or the mop or what do you call that even?
Court sweeper.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's
That's exactly what it's
right.
called.
I think.
The official court sweeper.
Yep. You know, for the longest time, that was my goal. I wanted to
You
be a
wanted to be
professional court sweeper. It's still on the list.
Talk to Paul Smith. I wonder if he can't get you. He must know
It's
a way
yeah.
to get you in there.
It's on the list for me, to be honest. Just I've done it at the national team level. Haven't done it for NBA level yet, though.
Shot clock violation. Good defensive possession there by Lowell and Prep, making the Rebels go into multiple actions.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to do it for when Canada played Costa Rica in Oshawa a few years ago.
Nice. Yeah, I was in that Oshawa arena not too long ago for a City in Color concert.
Very nice.
The Oshawa OHL team, there used to be a basketball team in there. You know that?
I did not know that.
They used to play in the National Canada. And I'm hoping some of those smaller markets develop a good relationship with an amateur league, like maybe the Basketball Super League, or I mean, it's a pro league, but you know, filling a stadium with 3,000-4,000 people is good community basketball.
I know we're also seeing, I'm assuming many people have probably heard of by now, what's called the Brody League, which is like a rec basketball league that's separated into different tiers of competitiveness. But if you are the team that's successful in winning the championship, they give you goggles, they give you a champagne bottle to pop. It's one of the most, and it doesn't matter the whatever level you play at, each championship team is treated the same. So we're seeing basketball flourish at all levels here in Canada.
The Rebels looking for a lane, and right at the expiration of the shot clock, foul on the arm. Foul's going to go when the ball handler is driving a little bit out of control. It's Cameron De La Salle drilling the first. The second has the same result. It's a 4-point lead for the Rebels. A minute and a half played in the fourth quarter. Humble working on the top side into a lane. Stops. Floater. Yes. De La Salle directing traffic. Hands it up to McFarland. Finds the diver, but the pass off the fingertips of Gabriela Uance. And so Lowell and Prep have a chance to tie or take the lead here. That pass intended for Skrobot, broken up by Uance. Takes it with the left, a little too strong. Unable to corral the rebound the first time was Lemon Ukes. And now the third chance opportunity drops for Brielle Coitier. Guignard moving downhill. Fouled on the way up, so Guignard finds another way back to the free throw line where she has been able to contribute consistently in this contest.
Maybe an adjustment that the Rebels can kind of make on defense. There's never been a possession, at least that I've seen so far from Guignard, where she has committed, like, done a shot, whether it be
Or just square up to the
exactly right. I haven't seen that from her yet. So in my mind, as a defender, if I'm guarding her, I'm going to be naturally just a step back because I already know where she's trying to go, especially if I position myself where the net is behind me. All I need to do is watch her hips, and know that she's going to drive towards me. But if I'm always naturally a step behind and I commit the foul, I'm going to give myself that extra space.
And you can't foul her either because she's been, you know, 2 straight perfect trips to the free throw line. She's a great free throw shooter, and you got to keep great free throw shooters off the free throw line. They're going to make you pay. I mean, great scorers get to the free throw line as much as they can, right?
Exactly.
You see that at all levels of basketball. Ellie Sove into double coverage. Rebound, McFarland, and the Rebels out the other way. De La Salle into the corner. Wants some action. Lemon Ukes finds the cutter. Scoop, score, gets the roll. Brielle Coitier. No one picks up Sove, so she's going to hawk it up. No, Skrobot with the rebound. Kick back out. Guignard. Extra pass. And the cut. Guignard can't corral it. De La Salle with numbers. To her left, Lemon Ukes. Right back, De La Salle. McFarland eyeing up Guignard. That shot off. Alessia Valili to Guignard. Guignard, not the ball handler for Llewellyn Prep typically, but she gets it over the timeline. And Skrobot wants it. Skrobot makes the first move behind the back. Then into the middle and caught reaching in, Gabriela Uwanse. Layla Christopher checks back in for the Rebels alongside Grace Pongang. And in for Llewellyn Prep is Lennox Belair, number 7 in white. Inbound pass disrupted there by Uwanse. And Llewellyn Prep will take it again on the side. They're going to switch the inbounder. Sove, top side, far wing. Uses the screen from Skrobot, looking for the roller. Skrobot's there. Hand on the ball, but also on the arm is Cameron De La Salle, and Sydney Skrobot to the line. Looking to make that a 2-point game. Right now, it is Louis Riel up 52-48, 3:46 remaining in regulation time here from the 12 o'clock tip-off as we approach 1:15.
We see Inez SOC getting a bag of ice just kind of positioned on her ankle. We all know that that's probably the worst injury you can kind of get in terms
ankle
of
or knee.
Ankle.
It's, it's
I would say it's a toss-up between the two, and it's hard because you want to come back a lot quicker than maybe your body will allow you to.
How about this? So close to a well-timed and executed press, but Ellie Sove got a little too overzealous. Llewellyn Prep get a chance to, again, De La Salle accepts the inbound pass. Poitier, extra pass inside. First attempt, no good. Batting the rebound around. Last touched by Llewellyn Prep, and the Rebels have it baseline out of bounds. 11 seconds on the shot clock, 3.5 remaining in the game. 2-point lead for the Rebels, right over the top. Almost too easy for De La Salle. Sove pushing the pace. Skrobot takes the pass, misses the layup, and Layla Christopher has it the other way. Finds Pongang. First move into the paint, lost the ball, Pongang, and now it's Sove. She's got a shooter to her right. She's got a lane herself. Bounce pass a little too late for Skrobot to accept. And foul's going to go on Ellie Sove. Had a shooter to the right, and the defender was fading that way. Had Skrobot to her left, but there's an open lane yourself. And sometimes when you get caught up looking for pass first, you end up getting too deep into the offensive end, and you run out of options. You
pull yourself out of the play before you even have a chance to create one.
Shot clock violation, backcourt violation, take your pick. I believe the shot clock expired before the ball rolled out of bounds or was touched by the Rebels. 4-point lead, Rebels still. Every time Llewellyn Prep score one, the Rebels are right there with an answer. Final 2:50. What's it going to take for Llewellyn to come away with a win here, Sydney?
I would want to see them rely more on their mid-range game. Because the shots that they have been taking mainly off of a high screen, 2 dribbles in, just below the first hash mark, pull up for a shot, they have shooters that can make it efficient and actually add to the scoreboard. So I'd like to see their mid-range game just a bit more stronger.
Another foul on Uwanse on Skrobot. And baseline out of bounds. For me, I say give the ball to Sarah Guignard, have her go down into the paint, and just fight through contact. Get her back to the free throw line, maybe an and one opportunity. Inbound pass, Ellie Sove with the 3, and all of a sudden it's a 1-point game. And could that be the bucket that tips the scales? Desjardins De La Salle. Nice pocket pass. Pongang swallowed up down low, but contact on the arm. Alessia Valili going to be called for the foul. Shooting foul. Grace Pongang to the free throw line. The first off of Iron and out. Skrobot and Guignard want to trade places down on the block. Got a box out here if you're Llewellyn Prep. The second shot is good. Back to a 2-point game. Ellie So far side over the timeline. Working back to the middle. Skrobot now accepting the pass at the top. Good defense there by Desjardins. Skrobot gets around that. Right to the hoop. Blocked by Grace Pongang. Timely block. Well timed. They get over, shuffle the feet, elevate, stay vertical. De La Salle attacking into double coverage. Needs some help. Layla Christopher inside now. Wow, that's a tough bucket. Shooting back across the body and giving her team the 4-point lead. Fighting for space there, Sydney Skrobot. Sove. Downhill to the left, kicks it back out. Guignard thought about it, now goes into the paint. That's another tough bucket in the painted area for Sarah Guignard. 2-point game. Yet again, a minute and a half remaining. Regulation time. Rebels lead. De La Salle looking for some movement. Pongang tries to get the step around Skrobot. Skrobot there to affect it, but no one over to help on the second chance opportunity. Ellie Sove over the timeline. 60 seconds left in regulation. Sove tries to take herself, felt the contact and threw it up. No whistle. Last touch by Llewellyn Park Prep and the Rebels. Up 4 with a chance to add to their lead. Timeout on the floor, of course. You want to talk this one over. Need 2 stops. Can't afford to foul.
And because of that, I don't know if it would be beneficial for them to do more of a, maybe not necessarily a press. I would do more of like a half-court trap.
Okay.
Force them to have to make that decision a bit earlier. As we know, the majority of Louis Riel's game has been post work and has been setting screens and creating that movement. So what I would try to do is, instead of pressing them full court, because we really don't have that a lot of fouls to give, and I don't want us to get into foul trouble if I'm Llewellyn Park, as soon as that ball gets over half, I would send 2 players to just be as aggressive as possible. But that also means that because there's going to be one person who's open, the other 3 defenders have to be more mindful of where they're positioning themselves on the floor. So I would say that the half-court trap would be the most effective in this instance, but we have 57 seconds left. You cannot afford to give any easy baskets. That would be a way to really challenge the point guard to make a faster decision.
Well, they have 4 in the front court here. Llewellyn Park Prep do. Pongang accepts the inbound pass. Swarming defense. They get it ahead. Layla Christopher working on 1. Double team down low. Ball's tied up. No whistle. Loose ball. McFarland on the ground for it. Now we have a jump ball. Possession arrow favoring Llewellyn Park Prep. So not only do they get a stop, they don't get any points against them, and they get possession. Good team defense. Michaela Tripp checking in. Ellie Sove moving downhill, bounce pass right into the feet of Guignard, and that pass just ill-timed, a little too low. When you're feeding the big, you got to feed them high. So the all-important defensive stop needed here. The Rebels able to break the press, far side, McFarland. Near side, Christopher doesn't fall. Scrobot jumping over everybody to get a fingertip on that. De La Salle. And Ellie Sove has to reach in.
It's kind of what I'm saying in terms of a full court press. It's effective, but you have to trap the first pass, because as soon as they make the second, they've broken the press. As soon as you've passed the ball a second time, as we've seen the Rebels do, all it takes is 2 passes and they have a chance down low. That's kind of why I was thinking just to allow them to inbound it and then swarm them as soon as they get over half. It applies a bit more pressure. I understand a full court press is the exact same thing, but if you have the player who's guarding the inbounder slow to getting over, it's pointless at that point. You need to have the trap set already before the ball is inbounded.
Still a few fouls away from the bonus. So that's not really an option in terms of a tactic with 20.8 seconds remaining in the game. Lowell and Park Prep have been fighting tooth and nail here in the second half to make this game something that they could take over towards the end. But time after time, they shave off the lead, and the Rebels come right back with the response. No one guarding the inbounder. Sydney Scrobot with the steal. Blocked. Well timed by Grace Pongyang. Another great block by the big for the Rebels. Defensive substitution now, as we see Desjardins check back in. Guignard wants it. Guignard gets it. Can't get the shot to fall. Rebound, Grace Pongyang. And foul there. Going to slow the clock down. Another foul to give before we move into the bonus. 8.8 remains. It's not over till it's over, folks. Pongyang on the side. Gets it in. De La Salle over the timeline. Foul's going to be called. And now we are shooting free throws.